Welcome to the Peace of Me podcast. This is your space for all things peace, positivity, and finding balance to live your best life. Life gets busy, and at times it's messy. I'm here to help you clean things up and put peace back in its place. I'll share tips, ideas, interviews, mindset shifts, and fresh perspectives to help you along the way. Hi friends, it's Lexy Leigh. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're not new, then welcome back and thank you for coming back to the podcast. Now, I did mention in the last episode that I might be popping on the podcast and just doing an episode or two throughout the summer. And I will let you know that, yes, I am still in my taking a break from the podcast so that I can work on fresh content for you for the fall. But part of my summer bucket list is about just kind of taking a little time away from my phone, the digital world, and just really taking the time to recharge. Because that really is what this podcast is about, right? It's about finding the peace, making things simple, and just taking those breaks when we really need to recharge. Now, the reason that I really wanted to just pop on here for a very, very short episode is just to check in and see how you are doing. Now, depending on when you're listening to this episode, if it's around July 2nd, that actually marks the halfway point of the year. So if you, or we, I should say, are not in a leap year, the July 2nd actually marks the 183rd day of the year. So this is the middle point of the year. So the reason that, like I said, that I wanted to just kind of come on here was to just check in with you, see how you're doing. And if you haven't yet had a moment to check in with yourself, maybe you haven't had time yet to just take a moment, take a breath, but ask yourself how you're doing. I wanted to make sure you were doing that. I wanted to make sure that if you're still running around and doing all the things, or if you're busy with work, or maybe your kids have a lot of activities in the summer and you're still just kind of go, and you're still just doing all the things and you're on autopilot, that this is your summer too. This is your time to decompress and do some of the things that you can only do when you get to summer. You know, summer is that time for, depending on where you live in the country, but or in other countries, because we have listeners from all around the world. But summer tends to be the time when the days are a little bit longer, the temperatures are a little bit warmer, and you finally get to do the things that you've been waiting for the rest of the year for. So this is your reminder that if you haven't yet, or if you're just going through the motions, or if you're on autopilot, first ask yourself how you're doing. Ask yourself if there's anything you can take off your plate. And also, what is it that you want to do this summer? Because now it's July. So June is over, it's behind you, but you still have July, you still have August to do the fun things that are important to you, that make you feel recharged, and that will have you just feeling, like yourself again, because you deserve that. Now, the other reason I wanted to pop on here is because I was thinking about how in the business world, and even in school, we have so many different kind of checkpoints as to when we're evaluated. You know, it's a mid-year check-in with your employer, or an end-of-year review. Or if you're in school, it could be quarterly report cards, or semesters, or exams at the end of the term. And those are all different checkpoints to evaluate your progress. And that's to evaluate your skills and your knowledge and all the stuff. But here on the podcast, we're talking about ourselves, and we're talking about how we feel, and we're talking about what we need so that we are living our best life. So this is not a time for you to evaluate your career, unless that's what you need to do. This is more of a time to evaluate how you're feeling, how what you're doing, is it feeling aligned to who you are and to your values, and that you're just not overextending yourself. You know, this might be a time that you have to put some boundaries in place, or say no a little bit more often so that you get a little bit more time back to yourself. But whatever it is, let this episode be that for you. This is your mid-year check-in, a personal check-in. How are you doing? What do you need? what needs to start, what needs to stop, what's really going well for you. So take this time to enjoy your summer, but also to check in with yourself. It's okay to do that. Don't feel guilty. It's okay to say no. Say yes to the things that fill your cup. And just make sure you have some things in place for yourself so that you are showing up as your best self and living your best life. So that is it, my friends. I told you this one would be short. I just wanted to pop on the podcast here in the middle of summer just to see how you're doing. And if you haven't already listened to the last episode in June, I did share with you some of the things that I'm doing this summer. So I'm going to continue and go back to doing those things. But if you haven't already and you're looking for a little more content, there are other episodes here on the podcast. So go ahead and scroll through and take what you need. And otherwise, I will be back on the podcast with some fresh new content starting again in September. So I will be here when you get back. I hope you're taking this time to recharge and do all the good things. And just remember to take care of yourself as well. All right, my friends, I will talk to you again in the next episode. I've created this space to help you live your best life. If you want to help support the podcast in return, I'd be forever grateful of your support. Please give this show a rating or share an episode with a friend. You can also join me on Instagram at the Piece of Me Podcast. Let's stay connected.